Hello everyone. Today I am going to be taking one of a lesson from grade 9 English First Language. The name of the lesson is The Portrait of a Lady, written by Khushwant Singh. Khushwant Singh was born in the year 1915 and died in the year 2014. Like you know that he was born before independence, he has contributed much to our nation. He was an Indian author, lawyer, diplomat, journalist and also a politician. His experience in the 1947 partition in India has inspired him to write Train to Pakistan in 1956, made into a film in 1998, a must-watch, which became his most well-known novel. Here in this chapter, we are going to be learning about the bond, the relationship, or you can rather say the memories that Khushwant Singh from his personal life has shared with us. Before moving ahead to the story of the lesson, let's understand a few new words and their meanings. Mantelpiece, a structure of wood, marble or stone above a fireplace. Here you can see in the picture, this is called as the mantelpiece. Don't put cards on the mantelpiece, above the fire or anywhere near a direct source of heat. The next word is hobble. Walk in an awkward way, typically because of pain from an injury, or even the old people hobble because their bones do not have enough strength. Her foot swelled during the night, making it hard for her to walk, so it was more of a hobble. The next word is puckered, contract into wrinkles or small folds. Here I have given you a picture of an old woman where her face is completely wrinkled. But puckered you can also do with an expression. When you close your eyes tight, there are wrinkles at the side. That is also called puckered. When you want to kiss or pout for a picture, then also you get wrinkles. That is also called as puckered. Her hair was wind blown about her face and deep creases were on her forehead, where her brow was puckered with anger. Here it is saying in a sentence that the hair were flown all over her face because of the wind, and of the anger she closed her eyes tight and her eyebrows puckered in anger. The next word is monotonous. Monotonous is dull, boring and repetitious. Coupled with the fact that the work I have done lately is repetitive, monotonous data entry. So, a person here is saying that the data entry process for him has become a monotonous job, a boring job. The next word is chorus. Chorus, we all know what chorus is because we do that in our school every morning. We pray, we sing national anthem all in chorus, song which is repeated after each verse. Tom sang the verses and everybody joined in chorus. The next word, stale, not fresh. So, not fresh means it might be stale, which is a day old, or food items which are very old and it has caught with fungus. The air was stale and dusty atmosphere was enough to make all of them hesitant to breathe. We can experience this at times when the garbage trucks pass by. So, the air smells stale. You can't breathe for a few seconds. So, air can also be stale this way. The next word, Veranda. Veranda is a roofed open air gallery or porch attached to the outside of a building. So, these kind of structures or the construction we get to see in villages, which are a beautiful way of spending time in the evening. In summer evenings, we would sit in the veranda and watch the sun go down. So, generally people during their tea time, they wish to sit in the veranda and enjoy the nature, the beauty and people outside. The next word is growling. Growling, making a gruntal sound in the throat. So, generally the dogs, when they are ready to fight, they make this kind of sound. The dog was biting, growling and wagging its tail. So, here we learn new words and their meanings. Going ahead to the story of the lesson, we see on the screen Kushwant Singh's grandmom. This is a story about Kushwant Singh and his grandmother. In this lesson, he shares his memories about how he spent his life along with his grandmother. Beautiful and emotional moments are encapsulated in this lesson. The writer recalls his grandmother as short, fat and slightly bent. Her hair was silver in color and were scattered on her wrinkled face. Here Kushwant Singh is sharing his memories with his grandmother, with whom he is staying in a village. It is only Kushwant Singh and his grandmother who is staying in a village, and he is trying to portray, or he is trying to share a life that these two, that is Kushwant Singh and his grandmother, have shared. In this lesson, we see two different parts. So, the first part is when they spend their time in a village and how he has beautifully captured all the memories. People in the village told Kushwant Singh that once upon a time your grandmother was beautiful. She was very pretty. But Kushwant Singh finds it hard to believe because he has seen his grandmother old, bent, with silver hair. He has not seen the beautiful version of his grandmother. So, whenever people would tell him that your grandmother was beautiful and she even had a husband, it was very hard for him to believe. And about his grandfather, Kushwant Singh, about his grandfather, all the time he is seen only on a picture on the mantelpiece. The author describes his grandfather's portrait that was hung above the mantelpiece. Now, you remember I taught you mantelpiece just at the beginning of the lesson, where he was wearing a turban with loose fitting clothes and a long beard covering the best part of his chest and looked at least 100 years old. So, here Kushwant Singh is describing his grandfather as he sees in the picture, that he looks as old as 100 years and he is wearing a turban with white loose clothes. So, Punjabis generally they have a significant dressing, like in India everyone has a significant style of dressing. In Punjab they have a significant style of dressing where men wear a turban, they wear a dhoti, kurta, and women wear patyalas and ghagras. So, this way when he is seeing at the portrait, he says that he has seen his grandfather like this, and the best part of his chest, the broad white chest, is covered with the beard. The writer thinks of her as not very pretty, but has a constant beauty. She used to walk around the whole house in white clothes. She kept her one hand resting on her waist and the other was telling the beads of her rosary. He compares her calm face with the winter landscape. Here the writer is trying to explain or try to describe how his grandmother looked. Grandmother was always wearing white dress. Generally, a few of the tradition, they wear white dresses after the death of the husband. So this is why Khushwant Singh's grandmother as well was wearing a white dress, because her husband was dead. And she was walking around the house, keeping a rosemary in her hand. That means the beads. You can also say a type of the Rudraksh beads. So they chant with those beads turning around. So this is basically kept for the count as well. When he sees her grandmother, she is no less beautiful, but he tries to recollect that how she would look in her younger days when she was very pretty as well. So he thinks that grandmother is having a constant beauty. Whenever someone sees her, they feel very happy, they feel very warm. So this is how her beauty is. And her face is like the white landscape. And here he is comparing it with the snow, that her hair is as white as snow. During their lengthy stay in the village, she woke him up from the bed early morning. With her morning prayer, she bathed him and dressed him up. She would keep the wooden slate, ink pot and a red pen bundle to carry. After the breakfast, grandmother carried all the stale chapatis for the village dogs. So here, how every morning of Khushwant Singh and his grandmother is that Khushwant Singh's grandmother walks around the whole house chanting and praying, and then she wakes Khushwant Singh up, tells him to get ready and takes him for a bath, and then while bathing Khushwant Singh, she also prays, thinking that okay, while I am constantly praying, he will also memorize it. So Khushwant Singh knows that this is my grandmother's trick for me to memorize the prayers. So after he is dressed, she serves him breakfast, that is chapati and butter, and then everything is ready for Khushwant Singh to carry. The wooden slate, ink pot, red pen. So in olden times, we children would carry slate and a chalk to the school. So now we have all modern technologies, modern equipments, and so olden days were very beautiful, and all these things were ready for Khushwant Singh to carry. And Khushwant Singh's grandmother also carried stale chapatis. Stale chapatis means the chapatis that were made a day before, maybe she would carry it for the village dogs. Both of them headed towards the school, where grandmother spent her time in a temple attached to the school. On the way back home, she used to give the stale chapatis to the street dogs, who followed them growling and fighting with each other for the chapatis. So this was a routine of Khushwant Singh's grandmother, where she would make extra chapatis in the night so that she could carry these chapatis for the street dogs where she would go the next morning. So next morning, there was a temple attached to the school building itself. So Khushwant Singh would go and learn whatever he was supposed to in the school, and in the meantime, Khushwant Singh's grandmom would go to the temple and pray during that time. And when they both were coming back home, at that time, she would give chapatis to the dogs, and the dogs would fight with each other, wanting them to eat with competition. Here comes a turning point in their beautiful life or beautiful relationship, when they were called to live in a city along with the writer's parents, that is Khushwant Singh's parents. So here in this chapter, we are going to see the other phase of the life of how Khushwant Singh and his grandmother face. With this, I will be moving ahead with the grammar point mentioned in the lesson. We will be learning about verbs. Verbs are nothing but action words. Action words, here I mean to say that I am teaching. Teaching is an action word. I am standing, action, sitting, action. So anything that involves an action, the physical movement of the body is action. Verbs are nothing but action words. So in verbs, we are going to be learning about 4 forms of verb. The first form of verb is V1, which is the base or the present form, simple present form. Examples that I have given you is do, sit, write, use, give. Let's sit and have some coffee. This is a simple base form of verb. Let's sit and have some coffee. So, even in verbs, we have past tense, we have past participle, definite past participle, all these. So, the next verb too that we will be learning is a simple past form. This simple past form is, I have taken the same words what we took in V1, so that understanding of the past participles is easy for you. Example, did. In the previous slide, what did we see? We saw do. Sat. The simple present tense of the verb that we learnt in the previous slide was sit. And wrote. Simple present tense is write. Used is past tense, use is present tense. So, like this, in verbs also we have tenses. I did my homework last evening. So, this is simple past form. The next one is V3, past participle form. This is the third form of verb where the examples are done, sat, written, used, given. Anna's uncle had written her a letter. Present participle form, and here the words that I have taken for example is doing, sitting, writing, using, giving. So, here we have understood the same words I have taken with the changes of tenses, so that the understanding for you is better. The example of a sentence is, we all are sitting and watching the Avengers. We are going to construct exercises on V2, that is past perfect form, that is mentioned in your lesson. The tense of a verb tells us the time of an action or when the action has taken place. So, verb we all know that it is an action. So, what is the tense telling us with the verb? It is telling us that when and how and where it is taken action. The past perfect tense, like I told you, V2 is a past form of verb, and here we are going to learn about past perfect tense. This past perfect tense we are going to construct with had, 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 plus the past participle form. The examples I have given you, they had told my sister about the surprise. That means they are sure, they are confident, which is happened, it is mandate, it is done that way. So, we will say they had told my sister about the surprise. I had taken my dinner before they arrived. So, here I am sure that I have done it. It is the past perfect form that I had taken my dinner before they have arrived. We had expected better results. So, here it is saying that we had expected, we were sure of having better results than the results that we have seen. So, here we have learnt in the grammar part that what past perfect form is. Past perfect form is compulsory to have had. Now, I am sure that you all have understood how to identify past perfect form of verb. Moving on to the next segment of grammar mentioned in the textbook are prepositions. Now, what are prepositions? For you here, I have given two different pictures for you to analyze and understand. The first one is a cat, and the cat is sitting on the box. It is a preposition of a place. In front of the box. In front of the box. Above the box. See, there is a difference on the box and above the box. You will have to understand when you use these words when you are using it as prepositions. The next one is behind the box, then under the box, that means below, underneath the box, and then near the box, not attached to the box, it is near the box, and in between the boxes. So, where is the cat? In between the boxes. Likewise, I have given you an image next to it where you will have to identify where the position of the furniture is. The flowers are on the sideboard. The photo frame is on the wall. The two-seater sofa is behind the dining table. The bed is in the corner of the room. The mouse is on the mat. So, here we have learnt about the prepositions of place. Prepositions come in different types. They come in time, they come in place, they come in movement as well. Preposition of time, we use preposition of time to say when something happened or will happen. So, here we are talking about past tense, present tense and future tense as well. So, prepositions in time will be identified with the most common ones, that are at, in, on. You should come on time. You should come well within time. The next is the preposition of place. We use prepositions of place to say where somebody or something is. Like in the previous slide, we read as to where the cat is: on the box, above the box, under the box, in the same way. Then there is the preposition of movement. We use prepositions of movement to show the direction in which somebody or something is moving. Let's quickly do an exercise which will help you understand the prepositions more in detail. I have here given a paragraph about a person in Germany who loves to travel and enjoy his time over the weekends. I am Peter and I live where? In Germany. So, how do we understand where the preposition? As to the preposition of place, we have to get the answers of where. So, I am Peter, I live in Germany. In summer, I like to travel to Italy. Here in is a preposition again. It is answering a question when. So, here we have finished an answer to where. Now, we are finding an answer to when, the preposition. When, in summer. In summer, I like to travel to Italy because of the weather and people there. Last summer, I took a plane from Munich. Preposition of place. From where? From Munich to Rome. From the airport, we went to our hotel by bus. How did you go? By bus. We stopped at a small restaurant for a quick meal. Where? At a small restaurant. The driver parked the bus behind the restaurant. Where did he park the bus? Behind the restaurant. Nobody could find the bus and the driver. So, we waited outside the restaurant for 1 hour. Where did you wait? Outside the restaurant. For how long? For 1 hour. The driver was walking in a small park near the restaurant, which we did not know. Where was he walking? In a small park. Preposition of place. Where was the park? Near the restaurant. We learnt near the box of the cat, like that, near the restaurant. So, we were very angry with him, but my holidays were great. We sat round campfires and were dancing till the early mornings. So, they are telling about the campfire. Campfire is a fire lit in between and people sit around it and they enjoy their time singing, dancing and playing. With this, we have also learnt about the prepositions of time, place and direction. Now, I quickly have an assignment for you children. I want you to do it with all your efforts by reading the textbook thoroughly. The first question is, briefly describe how Khushwant Singh's grandparents looked. So, here you have to describe how Khushwant Singh's grandmother and grandfather looked. Here you will have to describe in different paragraphs. You should not write everything into one and make it look cluttered. You have to divide it into paragraphs and write it neatly. How was the life of the author and his grandmother in the village? Like I told you that the story is divided into two segments, that is during the stay in village and the stay in the city. In today's chapter, we have learnt about the stay of Khushwant Singh and his grandmother in the village. So, you will have to write about the entire stay in the village, what was their routine, how did they enjoy their life and things like that. And after that, into the grammar part, I want you to pick out at least 5 past perfect form of verbs from this lesson. Now, it is very easy for you to find out the past perfect form of verb. How will you find out? Had plus the past perfect form of verb. It is much easier for you to do now, and I am definitely waiting for the next class, the next session, where we will be learning about the life and the changes for a good or for a challenge for both Khushwant Singh and his grandmother. Thank you children. You all have a wonderful day.